Our brave company commander and his men spot some Germans running across the open field, fairly close to the beginning of this match. But they don't open fire. They notice the Germans coming into their compound before they notice anything else. So they open fire and realize how close they are. Luckily, they're in an elevated position and they immediately just annihilate them. So that's a pretty good result to begin with. They then start opening fire on the guys out at the field. Over on the left flank, however, things aren't quite so awesome, and as the men move up to the hedge line to try and then blast through and get some good eyes on the village, we get a German heavy MG opens up and manages to nail someone. It could have been much worse than this, let's be honest, but it still wasn't great. As soon as they reach the trench line, however, they respond in kind, and for a fierce 15 seconds, that poor guy is nailed with just about everything they can throw at him. Even, as you can see, rifle grenades, and right at the end, someone gets a lucky hit. And the guy goes down. On the left-hand flank, the company commander, his gaze directed by the guys on the left, doesn't realize how close the Germans got until they spot them and promptly completely annihilate them with close range fire. That just shows how much the American SMGs are at close range. And those rifles, yeah, those very poor Germans, far too many of them there. The company commander and his men are obviously heroic in their use. On the left hand flank, we're busy blowing away through hedgerows to try and get our men in position, get them on the left hand side of the village. So we do that on both sides. There's another one here, just moving them up to try and get some good eyes on the enemy. Back on the left, I start to rush a scout team back towards where he took that first casualty, while continuing to blast through the opposite trench. So we're moving forward as well as coming back to deal with that one casualty we've taken so far. Unfortunately, they then come under fire from what must have been a two-man team. The second man then picking up the machine gun again. However, our men are there and in cover, ready to open up, and they just continue pinning that guy down. I am very lucky that I didn't choose to put my forces straight into these buildings. I noticed that there were no doors and very limited windows and quite a bit of a killing field, so I didn't put my men going through the center of the village. I've tried to shift the combat so we're to the left, and it looks to be paying off. As we draw to the end, we notice the section starting to move into this house to be able to get some eyes on into the middle of the village. Unfortunately, the Germans aren't playing nice, and that MG opens up again on the two folks in the field. The guys in the village also are having to try and fight for their lives with some more Germans up at the hedgerow. Unfortunately for me, one of the scouts sent forward to heal up gets taken out right at the end. The brave fellows we have right in the middle of the building, unfortunately, get taken down by more than one fire, windows smashing, very much being pinned down. These guys behind the hedgerow just aren't having enough fire pouring down the enemy. The machine gun is full and silent, but I have no doubt it's still there waiting to nip at me again. I've already lost 3 men. Towards the end of the turn, however, the commander breaks down the wall between buildings and then makes their way into the second floor of the second building, just so we get some further eyes down the road and they can shift between those top 2 floors from now on. And they immediately spot a German flak cannon and crew and start to engage. It's quite far away, however. The commander and his men manage to take out multiple German casualties around the flak cannon. It's taking place during the next minute of combat or so. There's a fierce exchange of fire between the guys in the house and the fellows over there in the hedge line. There don't appear to be any casualties taken on either side, however, the fighting gets pretty intense. And my men don't look like they're doing too well. They tend to be cowering quite a bit, so it's going to be really important to get that third section up to support the rest of the forces. The MG starts opening up again, and my guys immediately start trying to fire, but it's being able to quickly fire. Luckily, the guy doesn't take a hit, but it's only a matter of time until he does, so I need to do something. Over on the left hand, well, yeah, very much the left hand side, but middle, the squad is sending 2 scouts forward They're heading up to the ridgeline while the rest of the squad waits for them to signal the all clear. The scouts, instead of immediately signaling the all clear, although they don't get killed, spot some German positions and then start to engage towards the end of the turn. It takes a wee while for them to actually spot the Jerrys though. When they do, they then kind of get down to line position and start to engage. The headquarters section gets that third kill on the flat canisters, keeping them pinned down, stopping them from being able to fight any further enemies, but then they start taking fire from Germans further down the street, as you can see. The fighting over the central house continues to be incredibly intense, so it's kind of crazy. They're doing very well at being that brave, while this section continues to then definitely be pouring the fire into that building to keep that MG and its head down. They need to try and protect that last fellow who's in the field healing up his buddy. We end the turn with the section moving forward, spotting the German command, starting to engage but assaulting into that house there after their scouts have taken out that first German on the inside. You can see the ricochets from all of the combat from all over this village, kind of flying all over the place. After successfully healing up his friend, Mr. Heroic Scout member sprint back to rejoin his squad and then start to fire on that enemy MG position. For some reason this section starts to slows up before they continue the assault into that building, so instead of providing a base of fire for this second miniature scout team here to then move into where the Germans are there, they stand still with no views on the enemy, so this small scout section charges in and unfortunately die horrifically to a German defense. And then, when they do run in, the Germans are alerted to their presence, and so they immediately lose a man. I start to move this section to the left, into the middle, because where they are now, they just can't do anything. If we had thought the battle for the centre of the village was bad and vicious at that point, we had another thing coming. Floods of German run into the town, all over the place. My men are completely surrounded, and the fight gets very, very vicious. In the middle, the wounded section does make it inside the building, however they're then completely surrounded by Germans, all firing inside, so while they need to try and engage the Germans in the building next to them, they also need to try and engage the buildings all around. And as you can see, they just start taking casualties, the Germans take casualties. It's a very messy fight. It's not all bad. We do have some reinforcements coming in. This is 2nd Platoon, or what remains of 2nd Platoon, only about one section in numbers, split into 2 sections, and then also C Company HQ. This is the craziest firefight I've ever seen in combat mission, and as close quarters as I've ever seen it, so enjoy. I'm probably not going to talk over this too much. What's going to happen is the other section I've got is going to eventually come up along the background here, and you'll see them engaging and taking casualties, etc. But for the most part, it's just centered around this tiny little unit in the midst of a German advance, surrounded on pretty much all 4 sides. Yeah, enjoy. Wow, is all I can say to that. I just love the amount of casualties the Germans take in getting close to the building. Whew. Unfortunately, this does not end well, this per unit action here, so I'll let you see it. One of them gets taken out fairly early on before he can do much good. Second guy gets in, and immediately, instead of engaging the Germans, he starts to cower, and the rifleman runs away. As soon as the Germans recover, they turn around and take out that last guy, who could have really hosed them down from behind, but he didn't. In any case, the second section is up at the front, as you can see. So they begin to engage the folks inside, and no further casualties sustained on either side for the rest of this kind of long-lasting firefight. So this lasts a wee while. As you can see, there's an American machine gunner very bravely engaging that house while under heavy MG fire from the Germans. So he manages to basically persuade these Germans that it might be smart to vacate the premises, as you can see, before then unfortunately dying. Once again, things don't go our way, and the American section, as it moves into that house, letting Germans escape, are then defeated by Germans as they come in from the right without even firing off a single shot. They cower, they run, and Germans are able to take them out. So the brave 1st platoon has been cut down almost to a man because of my inept commanding. This is really brutal. Over on the right, two very brave men start to engage some of the German positions, even when they're armed with like Panzerfaust, and they do actually manage to get some of them to retreat. But over in the middle, the second last guy gets taken out with some MP44. MP40 I think it was, to fire. That one remaining guy of those two sections manages to escape, but barely. Poor sod. Novak. On the left, things are looking better. Far left, that is, near where the commander is, actually further along where the commander is. The first section gets into position and immediately opens up on the enemy in the house. Right at the start, this section manages to completely gun down all three of the enemies there. That building was completely and utterly destroyed. Quite a nice beginning of some revenge. The rest of the reinforcements are coming up in here and preparing to breach the wall into the same compound as our brave commander over there, who's had by far the most success. We're going to strong point in this location. Right at the end, the wall is breached, so they start heading through. So now the reinforcements all head straight in and up into the building wherein the commander is. So we've completely strong pointed this compound. It's got thick walls all the way around with only 3 entrances. Well, it was 2 before, but 3 now that we've blown a hole in one of the walls. So we're spreading out across the 2 houses, and yes, this is going to be a very strong location to defend. So should the Germans push, this is going to be a good place to kind of create a bit of a kill. Plenty of guys head into the next building and then immediately start being able to, they spot some German contacts down the road and immediately start opening up towards the end of this turn. So as you can see, they just start turning up the windows and engaging the Germans along the end of the road. Shifting the squads around in the centre, moving some of these sections off to the left hand side, see if they get eyes up towards the enemies. Germans in the north, they actually find a section that's obviously been pinned down for a while along the wire here and promptly send them all to hell. So this section here has already nabbed itself 6 Germans. Overall, the firefight is looking pretty good. The infantry over here realise there are some Germans over in one of the buildings and have to start engaging, although some immediately start running down and panicking. They do manage to take at least 1 German casualty. It becomes exceedingly clear over the next minutes that the scenario builder likes putting large amounts of German infantry on the field, as more and more seem to be moving left to right throughout these hedgerows and into that building, and even to the right. while more sound contacts are spotted in these fields to the left. So, not a massively equal fight so far. At least these guys are then kind of lining up, all getting their marksmanship skills tested. At this point in the battle, I'm bringing the 3rd platoon, the final wave of reinforcements I'm getting, up to the middle to try and take over where 1st platoon was annihilated, but obviously in a much more tactical layout, so hopefully they won't die. While 2nd platoon, as you can hear in the background, is fighting a vicious fight for holding their positions in the village. I'm really not impressed with the 2nd platoon's accuracy here. They've been firing at these Germans which are literally lined up against the wall for a very long time, and they've not scored a single hit, so I'm not too impressed. Here we go, 3rd platoon is starting to move into position along this ridgeline. They should get some enfilading fire on any Germans. Oh, hello, they can immediately see some here. There we go. And immediately then open up on their MGs. I'm sure rifles will join in as well. No complaints there, they seem to take one out there. 3rd platoon do not do too well. Their MG, who's taking out these riflemen, manages to get hit by a rifleman. You know, he's an MG against 2 riflemen, and they still don't win that. Over here, the Germans still aren't being taken out by those marksman strips in the window. And as these fellows walk up, they immediately get pinned down by a guy with an MP40. And then Germans with MGs start opening up as well. So 3rd platoon across this field is just not looking good whatsoever. There tends to be a hell of a lot more Germans in here than I'd originally thought. That's 2 casualties taken by this group on the left and 1 on the right. That's the 2nd casualty there. This is where I pretty much give up on this game. As 3rd platoon goes in to make their assault into these buildings, that happens. A Panzerfaust armed guy hidden in the grass opens up and takes out half of them in one shot. So they're pretty much just stuck in the middle of their field with half their numbers depleted and completely destroyed. This battle is just getting ridiculous. Things do get better for me this round. I don't take a single casualty, and the Germans decide that they need to charge, and so with a heroic charge they do so. Unfortunately for them, I have a very large amount of men lying in wait. So even though my American accuracy has been pretty shockingly bad today, for the most part, we're winning. And as you can see, the German casualties are pretty huge. Can't really complain. And then they got 2 men completely pinned down who end up running away. You can hear even more casualties being taken even though you can't see them. Poor fellows. I forgot to mention last minute that I brought these 3 survivors of 1st platoon back from the house to try and get them back around the middle to heal up some of their friends and get back into the fight over there in the field. As you can see, the fight in the village is still pretty tense. There's quite a lot going on. Plenty of damage being taken by both sides. We have a bit of a fight here between 2 headquarters units, 1st platoon CO and the German. Unfortunately, it appears that the grenade which kills the German CO ricocheted and killed him as well, so they both end up dying. We finally managed to take out the MP40 guy, so he's been taken out. Took them a while. Unfortunately, these men here then proceed to inflict another casualty on these fellows that are up in the hill over here. 1st platoon commander, the hero unit that began this fight, killing loads of Germans off, has been sent on a secret mission. And we shall see what happens with that probably next turn. The other thing of note is the smoke that's been placed down to cover this sort of element of fire here. Hopefully that will last for the beginning of next turn. First off, the section that came with the company mortars, makes its way across successfully using the cover of the smoke to avoid being hit by German heavy machine guns. While the mortar section kind of lies down and does absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, yeah, things don't go too well for them. Them or the super secret mission. As soon as they get to here, they start to try to make their way across. And immediately take fire from a German MG, which we hadn't seen till now. One of them just actually got hit and it bounced off the metal. But then, as you can see, they take casualties. Now the super secret mission as you have here, you can probably guess what it is. Mr. Brave Platoon Commander Smit, yes. He's well, these guys are nervous, but they're about to go and assault the German position. Let's see what happens. Oh dear, there's a lot more of them than I thought there was, and they have a machine gun and grenades and oh dear. Oh, the horror. Mr. Platoon Commander of the dead platoon didn't give his life in vain, however. Blowing that wall negated Jerry's cover. And so the mortar guys forming up, as well as the other part of the other section forming up, immediately have a very clear line of view towards a now very exposed bunch of Jerrys. So MGs, rifles, and basically a huge amount of firepower opens up on the guys that have been there for a while. And as you can see, they are all very horrifically mown down. Not a single one of them is left. Very satisfying. Over here on the right, these fellows make it into the building and are hoping they can start buddy aiding those guys in the building. So even though we've taken a huge amount of wounded, I'm hoping to get at least half of them back as casualties instead of deaths. So the Jerrys over here keep on trying to push forward. You can see them lying down, hidden beneath the bodies. They continue to try to engage. My folks are over in that house trying to heal up and hide, as well as the rest on the bridge. But as you can see, as the more they push forward, the more attention they're getting. And unfortunately for them, too much attention means they die. You got hit straight in the head there. So they're engaged, as you can see, all the way down. And they have to retreat, which is good. The more they retreat, the more likely I am to win. This has been a horrific fight so far for casualties for both sides. It's definitely by far the most bloody combat mission video I've ever made, and actually scenario that I've ever fought. So yeah, whew. This minute is definitely for healing up, trying to get some of these wounded guys back on their feet. So fingers crossed they shouldn't be counting as casualties. Bit of a quiet minute until the last wee while as guys along the hedge line engage some Germans spotted within the compound. You can see them taking hits there, but unfortunately the commander section sent up to reinforce the front takes the casualty the first thing that happens. Unfortunately, even with their fellows behind them supporting, that MP40 at that close range is way too strong. So while the Germans are withdrawing and I have overwhelming firepower, these guys just take those two casualties right at the end. Quite a cool part of this round is these fellows have got crawling into the next house over, so they're just trying to get some spots from some Germans. One German was spotted running that way, but he got into the building before any damage was done. This guy immediately spots enemy infantry hiding along that trench line and open up and make them cower, etc. So that's fun. I also use these guys over here. They're all running straight towards the enemy and have them along this trench line, and they see the enemy from the other side, so while that guy hits them from that side, these guys hit them from the other side. They take a casualty, but I think the Germans, frankly, some of them are surrendering, some of them are wounded, so I think I'm winning this firefight. That bloody MG. German MGs are the bane of my life. And that mortar round comes in. Good timely hit. Bit of a twofold fight here. This house, we've got these guys who are having to engage the Germans over there. And then on top of that, we've got the guys in the next house over here, who are having to engage the Germans as they run up this trench line trying to escape. Although it looks like we may have just taken out one of them. Painful. That behind us was a mortar hit from friendlies, accidentally killing a friendly, which isn't great. As you can see, a lot of Germans surrendering along the line there. Let's try this assault using a different type of camera. See these fellows here are moving their way up. We've got Germans on their right, Germans on their left. As you can see, their friends move up with them. And overall, these guys are able to then assault in and take out some Germans on the other side of this wall. It's a good thing. Furthermore, these fellows in this building are then be able to move over and up to the next building. So while these guys I think there's one German probably left in there still. As you can see, the amount of fire we've got playing down from the different buildings that there are will completely push the Germans back. All over the place. They're running ragged. Even over here you can see I've moved one of my squads that was in the house all the way up to the left so they can get a good view across this entire field. And they're on to the Germans. The main action in this next turn as the Germans try to run away is literally just these Germans being killed as they try to run away. We've got that flanking section over there. We've also got the sections over here from different houses firing at them. As you can see, they're all being taken out rather slowly, but still very much happening. That there was the machine gunner, which probably killed the vast majority of my men. And this next is a beautiful rifle grenade right on target. Here it comes. Boom. Obviously all the Germans over there are all surrendering. The rest of these poor fools are just taken out. Even more of them are killed as they walk along and try to run away. One of them looks like they make it though, although there's no way to get through the hedge there, so that'll be interesting. Once again, this isn't the most fortunate of assaults. They do see an enemy. Unfortunately, his aiming appears to be much better than mine. They do have a lot of friendlies covering from the building on the right, but I wasn't expecting it to be Germans in the building on the left. And as you can see, there are some Germans further across the hedgerow to the left, so there's still some fight in them. But these are defensive German units rather than front lines, so fingers crossed we should be able to take them out. My response is to bring up some infantry which are going to line themselves up along this hedge line, to go back where they were, heal out that band, and keep the kind of the flanking cover on the other sections which are marching across the field there. This section manages to get to the hedge line and get into a nice wee position for them to then look across the entire of the German positions here, and they immediately spot two guys in the field and start to engage them. Meanwhile, I should have another section coming up there to the left, but I think they're taking their sweet time about it. Those poor blokes in the field do get hit, but I think it's actually by the same bullet. It gets them both. Right at the end. And you see an MG starting to engage some units that I'm running across to the house. This is where the German supply depot's resistance is a hell of a lot stronger than I thought it would be. You'll see what I mean in a second. Immediately there's a German rifleman down there somewhere. Then there appears to be some Germans in that house over there. What the hell? Oh look, a German half-track with men all over the place. So I've got men firing into the enemies, not as many as I'd like. I do manage to take out one of those Germans in the house. However, the next casualty is mine, where this flanking mortar section it gets completely and utterly annihilated by a German ambush. However, I take my revenge. There's a section just waiting for this half-track to get in the way, and they immediately grenade the wheel and then open up with MGs, which takes out plenty of the guys in the rear. Plenty of them. Although the MG does start to respond. This minute goes a little bit more in my favour. Both, as you can see, taking even more casualties. The sections along the fence line there are just having a wonderful time killing all of the Germans inside that half track. While these guys head straight into that house and strong point that building in the middle of the depot and take out the Germans that are inside there, while the Germans all try to retreat. So you can see these guys having a great deal of fun annihilating the German presence in this town, even though, again, their aiming is ridiculously bad. Unfortunately for me, while I do manage to destroy that half track, so it's now disabled, instead of continuing to fire at the Germans here, they're taken out by a rifle grenade. The German piloting that half track has no chance to get away though, and he's dead. He's killed. Tell you what, this supply depot is getting extremely hard to take. I rush the men from behind the hedges all the way up to that low brick wall so they can try and get some decent views on any Germans that are in this little garden area here. They do. Firstly they see the guy running, and then they shift fire to his bodies, which have kind of taken cover behind this hedge line over here. You can see them getting killed more and more. Unfortunately, that was a German MG you heard. There's an entire German section hiding behind that wall, just waiting for me. And unfortunately, these guys are all running in single fashion, which clearly isn't the best idea. And pretty much all of them get killed. Although this guy manages to take one out before they both get mown down. Over here, these fellows are continuing to engage the German van. But I've ordered them to move up, so as you can see, they're going to start to move up. Both that entire section and this section here, which is assaulting forward. What they see, and what they end up seeing actually, is what looks to be German retreat from the same area. So there's actually a lot of Germans which end up trying to run. You see them jumping over the wall in front. So these fellows, as they've run forward, they've noticed these Germans getting up there. But then again, there was some flanking fire from the right there, an SMG, so I have to be careful about how far forward we go. This has just been such a crazy fight with just some really close in-depth combat. This poor fellow here is right in the middle. You can hear these Germans. Unfortunately for them, my reinforcements come in and manage to kill them all before they can all run. So that's them defeated. Although there was one SMG left in that building, which makes me nervous. As these fellows move up along the line, they spot even more Germans, which, as you can see, they're making them surrender. But there was one German over there, and he's again gunned down. So it just looks like we're just mopping up what remains of the German force. And as you see, even more of them are surrendering in that field. Things are looking very good. Okay, so as I thought and I expected it would, the US Army total victory sign came up. So we have 1,000 points with the enemy of 214. So they failed to protect their locations, but they killed my HQ unit, although I actually healed them back up. So although they did wound them, they weren't killed. And I think they acceptably hurt my airborne forces. We captured everything we were meant to capture, and on top of that we destroyed the Grenadier Company completely and the flak battery. So if you look at this, I lost 34 men killed, 17 men wounded. However, I managed to get all of those wounded back up and redistributing their ammo, etc. The enemy, however, lost 65 men killed, 51 men wounded, and 7 men captured. along with losing 2 vehicles, one of which was an armored truck. 2 men on the battlefield were left in fighting condition. That's 1 man there with a rifle, and the second man would probably be the driver of that truck. So, as you can see, I'm left in complete control of the village, although obviously with stacks of wounded, low ammunition, and hundreds of bodies. But at the same time, I've completely and utterly wiped out the German presence. So even though quite early on those poor sections in the assault over here were lost, at the same time I completely managed to destroy the Germans. And as you look here, right at the end, as they're trying to run away, so many left. So if you look at this, this was the kind of that last fight over this last stretch of land here. There were Germans all over the place. These poor grenadiers all the way through this garden as they tried to run, completely taken out as they tried to get away. Even fellows in there. Obviously they did manage to take out all these poor 5 men as they were sent up from the side, which was silly of me. But if we look, the Germans were they're just bodies all over the place from them. I think probably the heaviest fighting was obviously around this section of town here. So there was a German MG position, and another section came through here. This guy here, sorry, not, it was this guy here, was a hero and took about 5 of my men with him. Body counts in both of these buildings, including this one as well. Wait, no, not that one. It was outside for this one. As you can see, the the American airborne casualties were all healed up or distributed, so you won't really see their bodies on the battlefield. But here, this is where the real German casualties come in. Their failed charges. This is where they were making their assaults, and this is where I managed to completely gun them down completely, even the guys inside the house. So this is where the German assault very much met its end. And again, there was some German casualties, even more so in here as well, from where that original section was. So in any case, that was a very, very fun fight. It really was. It was a great fight, very entertaining, and I very much enjoyed it. It got really intense. I'm sure some of these will be going up as individual combat moments, because that was so brutal and bloody. Definitely the most fun I've had. That was really entertaining, and I hope to see you again next time.